guys, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg, and thank you for joining me today. This is episode 79, and today is Monday, October 14th, 2019. So, if you are new here, thanks for checking me out. And if you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you coming back. And I, of course, appreciate all of the likes and comments and subscribes, etc. So, let's get into it. So, obviously, we are about halfway through Dark October stitching. My typical method, shall we say, for Dark October updates is, in the past, I have done weekly vlogs and then uploaded those each week because I tend to work on so many things during Dark October. So let me back up really quick and explain Dark October, because I've had some questions on Instagram and Facebook and people asking about it. So if you are new here, let me just explain what Dark October is. So, Dark October stitching was born out of, it originally started with Dark 13 stitching. So, Emily C, Eclectic Possessions, and I started doing, I guess about 3 years ago, we started doing Dark 13 stitching on the 13th of every month, when we would pull out any of our dark, macabre, creepy, spooky, Halloweenish, gothic pieces and worked on those on the 13th of every month. And I want to say we started that, like I said, 3 years ago, I think in August or September. And so then, of course, the month of October rolled around and we decided it should be dark stitching every day of October. And so that's where Dark October stitching came from, was out of Dark 13 stitching. So you can use those hashtags on Instagram. You can also use them on your FlossTube videos if you make FlossTube videos, and you can search that hashtag for anybody that may have used it in their FlossTube video updates. Specifically for me, like I was starting to say, I have typically done kind of vlog style and then weekly uploads of videos for the entire month of October for the past few years. And I actually, a while ago, went in and made a playlist of all of my videos for Dark October. So if you're interested in that, if you want to go back and just watch the Dark October videos on YouTube, you can take a look at my Dark October playlist, and those should all be there for you. What else? So there has also been some confusion about whether it is Dark October or Darktober. Specifically with reference to the Sal and the hashtag that Emily C and I started, it is Dark October stitching. There's a lot of people using the term Darktober and also using that hashtag. That may be a different Sal. I don't know. But if you're specifically looking for the Sal that Emily C and I host, Dark October stitching or Dark 13 stitching. So hopefully that answers any questions that you have. And the reason that I kind of say I sort of put Halloween last on the list is because there are those of us like Emily and I that love a bit of dark stitching that is not Halloween related. It is just dark, creepy, off the beaten track, what have you. So But it's a pretty generous category. So if you think it fits dark 13 stitching or dark October stitching, go for it. It's whatever you want to make it. But that hopefully helps shed some light on the intention behind those. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of an update on what's been going on with me. As an by way of explaining why I'm not doing weekly vlog updates for Dark October. So, and I'll be honest with you, I know that there's a lot of people that it's kind of the same thing with, you know, with blogs and people that used to read blogs, or people that are in stitching groups on Facebook. It kind of falls into the same thing with FlossTube, which is there are kind of two sorts of people. There are the sorts of people who don't want anything other than just stitching. Don't talk to me about your family, your personal life, what's going on with you, your kids, your cats, your house, nothing. I'm here for the stitching. End of story. Then there are the other people that, you know, either don't mind it or actually welcome hearing about people's personal lives, what's going on with them, etc. Because they want to get to know the person and not just, let me see your projects. So, with that in mind, here's another disclaimer for you if you're new here. I have always been the kind of person that wants to share not only what I'm working on, but also what's going on with me personally. Part of that is because the two are so intertwined, and what's going on with me is directly reflected in what I'm working on. It also explains, you know, the personal connection to specific pieces that I may be working on or have worked on in the past, etc. You know, but also that's just the way I am. I'm going to share about me, what's going on with me, what's going on with my cats, what's going on with my husband, etc. So if that is not your jam, this is probably not the place for you. I briefly toyed with the idea of putting personal updates at the end of my video. I'm just not going to. So you can fast forward through it, or, you know, there are plenty of other floss tubers that just show you the stitching. So, as Emily said in one of her recent videos, I am who I am, and, you know, for those of you that like that, I am so happy to have you here. If that's not your thing, feel free to not watch. So, all that being said, I want to tell you what's going on with me. So, and obviously some of you have probably seen some of this on Instagram because I did update there. I did not really share anything that was going on Facebook because I don't need people in a panic. So, that being said, a few different things have been going on. So one of those things is near the end of September, I was notified that my job had been eliminated. And so what that meant was I had been placed on what they call the bench. So being on the bench means that you have a certain period of time where you can look internally for another position before you are actually rolled off. And then you would get your severance, etc. So when I was laid off from a previous job many years ago, I kind of knew it was coming because we had been going through reductions in force quarterly. And there comes a point at which you can only stick it out for so long and then your number's up, right? I used to joke that it was like a bad game of Duck, Duck, Goose. That you're just sitting there at your desk hoping nobody taps you on the head. So, this situation, I was absolutely blindsided. I had no idea. And not only did I have no idea that they were going through reductions in force, but on top of that, I had been given an excellent performance review. I had been given a bonus, and I had just been given a raise because of my performance. So to then turn around and be told you don't have a job was a little, I was absolutely blindsided. So, but I immediately, started reaching out to internal contacts that I had and made some massive networking maneuvers over the next few days. And I was actually able to secure another position within the company, moving to an entirely different group that following Monday. So like I was told on a Monday, my bench time was actually going to start on the following Monday. But that following Monday, I actually ended up starting my new position. So I'm very, very grateful that that worked out the way that it did. And I will be honest with you, if I did not have the network that I have, that wouldn't have been possible, because dealing with the company process of, the bench process and how you're supposed to walk through it and all of the hoops you have to jump through, etc. I'm just super, super grateful. But that whole week really threw me for a loop, and I was not sleeping. I was, my anxiety was super, super high. Eric was freaking out, but was trying to act like he wasn't freaking out, which of course I pick up on. So it was really difficult, but thank God it was only a week of the unknown. So I'm exceedingly grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all the people that reached out to me and offered their support, and also, offered assistance in looking for positions, etc. So thank you guys. So that happened. And then obviously since then, so since September 23rd, which is when I started my new position, things have been a little wild and crazy. So I've been trying to kind of keep my head above water, and I have jumped into the deep end of the pool, and it is busy, but I'm okay with busy. The problem that I was having in my previous job, and this is, to me, this is all about, I needed out of that previous job, and this is how that played out, thankfully, because I needed out of there, because it was an extremely toxic situation. So the new role that I'm in, the new group that I'm in, the new manager that I have, I'm very happy with. It's just been a lot to try to get up to speed and learn when I'm, you know, who all the players are and all that good stuff. So, needless to say, with all of that going on, my stitching has been a little touch and go, because I've been really tired at the end of the day, just really worn out. So that's part of what is going on. The other things that are going on is that I am having some health related stuff too, that I'm trying to deal with. I have been going to the dentist and having some dental stuff done, which has been exceedingly unpleasant. And all of that going on, I noticed that my feet had swollen up at some point, and you know, we're still swollen like a week and a half later, so I went to the doctor for that. They ran a whole bunch of blood work, and in running that blood work uncovered some other stuff, so I'm trying to get that fixed, you know. So I've been sort of struggling physically, and part of what's going on is, you know, making me, you know, now that the blood work has come back and it's like, oh, okay, this may explain why I'm so freaking tired. But hopefully we can get it all sorted out. And then on top of all of that, because that wasn't enough, it has just been kind of, you know, one thing after another. So, I actually went to pour myself a cup of coffee the other morning. That coffee had been, you know, cooking on the burner for like 2 hours. I poured that coffee in my cup of coffee, you know, reached to get some sugar, and knocked the coffee cup towards me, and basically scalded like my entire stomach area, which then blistered and has been extremely painful. I've been trying to deal with the burns, which is, I mean, I have to laugh because really, but I mean, it's like a huge area that was completely scalded, blistered up immediately. It's very painful. So I've been trying to deal with that, but sitting and sleeping have been uncomfortable because of that. So yeah, I am a hot mess. So anyway, that's what's been going on with me. So I'm hoping that we're now on an upswing and I can get past some of this stuff, and yeah, crazy. So let's talk about stitching, shall we? All right. So, but that's why I haven't been doing the vlogs, because I honestly just didn't have the energy for it. And even recording tonight, I'm a little like, I don't know that I'm up for this. And I just talked for 20 minutes. Whatever. It is what it is. Feel free to fast forward up until the point that you see me hold something up you want to see. All right. So, September. Sampler September. When we spoke last, I had pulled out Crowned Bird sampler and was working on it. Let me give you a refresher. And my plan for working on it, this is Crowned Bird. This is Plum Street Samplers. Paulette designed this piece for my guild back in 2013, and she has since released this piece to the public. So this was one of my January starts. I started it with Stitch and Be Well, Mrs. Vensel, and Becky Socks for Mom back in January. And our plan was we wanted to try to have this finished by the time that Paulette came back to our guild to do another workshop, which was in September. So I pulled this out. You know, I worked on it in January. I've worked on it a little bit here and there for Magical Stitches homework. And then I pulled it out at the beginning of September because I thought Sampler September is a great time for me to give this some, you know, focused attention and see if I can get it done. I didn't really think I could get it done in 20 days, but I was going to give it an E for effort. So I worked on it all of September with the exception of one day. And I will explain that one day here in a minute. But obviously I did not get it done in time for Paulette, but I'm still really, really happy with my progress. So this is where I'm at. And hopefully that's in frame. Yeah. So I'm basically halfway. And I'm really, really happy with it. So this is on .36 count Meadow Rue, vintage Meadow Rue, Lakeside. And it is NPI and Belle Soie silks. So, now you may notice that I have changed the verse. So the original sampler has a verse and it's, you know, it's got part of it here and part of it here. So it almost looks like it's two different verses, but it's actually all one thing. And so it says, Lord, guide my heart that I may do thy will and fill my hands with such convenient skill as will conduce to virtue void of shame, and I will give the glory to thy name. So that's the verse, and my understanding is that it is actually a verse that was used on one of the earliest American samplers. So I just felt like I wanted to change the verse. So it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, and I finally landed on a quote from Shakespeare that I think is from Henry VI, because I really, for some reason, I just really had my heart set on some sort of verse or quote that referred to a crown, since this is the Crowned Bird sampler. And I found one. So up at the top here, you can probably read that, but it says, my crown is in my heart, not on my head, not decked with diamonds, nor to be seen. And I actually had to shorten it a little bit because after diamonds, I believe it says, or India stones, and that was actually the part I really liked over diamonds, but it wouldn't fit. So I had to take that off and just went with diamonds. And then the second half of it, which I have started but have not finished, says, "My crown is called content, a crown it is that seldom kings enjoy." And I just love the quote. I think it's perfect for what I wanted. I think it fits perfectly with the piece. So nothing at all against Paulette's chosen verse. I just wanted something different for my piece. And one of the ladies in my guild that stitched this, she stitched the top part of the verse as charted, but then she didn't like this portion of it. So she actually ended up just stitching something else in that area. Another flower pot or something, I think. So, but I'm really happy with it. I think it is turning out beautifully. That color is probably a little more accurate. Maybe. This is the problem with having a light, is that it's sort of accurate color-wise. That's the price you pay for being able to see me, is that the color is not necessarily accurate, but that's probably pretty close. So, happy with that, happy with the progress that I made, and I will obey the rules and fold it so that my stitching is on the inside. So, crown part. I think I made pretty good progress. I mean, I got halfway through it. And I have my plan for the other half. I had to do some finagling with the verse, that verse on the side, to get it to fit how I needed it to, so, oh well. All right, so that's what I worked on in September. I was a little sad to put it down, but c'est la vie. So, I told you that I did not work on that for one day in September, and here's why. Paulette came. And this is living in my Frida bag from Sylvia. And this bag is from Becky's Socks for Mom. Okay, so Paulette came to my guild in September, and she designed another sampler for us. Get all the goodies out so I can show you. We had our class at the Dallas Zoo. One of our members and a good friend of mine works there. And we thought it would be fun because Paulette's daughter, Sabrina, used to work there as well. Unfortunately, by the time that this rolled around, Sabrina is no longer working there because she is off doing other fun things, like having a baby. So we asked Paulette to design for us a zoo themed piece. And so that is what she did. And I'm going to show you kind of how it was presented to us, as well as then I'll show you the whole piece. So on top of it, she had this, and then in it, she had our DMC, as well as this beautiful card, thread card that has all of the overdyes on it. And so the piece is called Adam Names the Animals. And here is a picture of the piece. And it's just absolutely darling. So it's got, you know, that big pomegranate tree in the middle. It's got a lion and an elephant and a skunk and a zebra and a giraffe and a tiger and a frog and some birds, all kinds of things. Just absolutely darling. And I really love the bottom of it with the grass and then the waves and then the fish. And then the verse here says, Genesis 2:20, and Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And so we loved that she, you know, kind of played on the theme of Adam and Eve, but this, you know, was pre-Eve when Adam is naming the animals. And so there is no Eve on this piece, which makes sense to me, but some people were like, well, if it's an Adam and Eve, it should have Eve on it, but I like it with just Adam. So, and the piece, the fabric that she used is 40 count toasted almond, that is from Fabrics by Stephanie. And then she used Weeks and Classic Colorworks and DMC. So she said that she tried to use the DMC on places that, like that, all that grass and the water at the bottom, but then also places where you really wouldn't even be able to tell the variegation in very small sections, or like, for example, for the tiger, she wanted something that was not variegated, so that he didn't end up kind of a weird color. So, but I love the way she put this together, and Paulette packages things so beautifully. And then we also got this piece that's from Sampling of Memories, that has the piece on it, and then there's a little button and a little giraffe charm. Isn't that sweet? And then I've got, oh, I guess that's the water, that Capri. So I've got some of the overdyes on here, that the ones that we needed more of. And eventually I may, I will probably put my DMC on here as well. And then we also got our workshop chair actually made up these little tins for us, and some of them had zebra stripes and some of them I think had giraffe spots, and it's just a little tin of mints, but I thought that was really cute. A tin of mints that doesn't open. Anyway, so at the class I did make a small start on this piece, and that's what I worked on that day. So I did not work on Crown Bird that day. So here's my little bitty start. I have one pomegranate stitched. Very, very impressive, is it not? So it's really pretty. I love the colors. And Paulette is just an absolute darling. So I was happy to get to see her again and have her, you know, design this piece for us. So, we had a fun day. We were there basically all day, and so you could, you know, wander about and go out and look at the zoo and see the animals and stuff, and then come back and stitch a while if you wanted to. And Paulette also brought her newest releases there so that we could see them actually before they were released. So I think she had 4 pieces. One was Clementine, that orange cat. One of them was Goody Good House. Good. Anyway, the one that has a really cool house on it. There was a patriotic piece, and then one other piece that was kind of a fall piece. So much fun. If you ever get the chance to see Paulette in person, do it, because it's worth it. So, even though I started this, I'm not considering this a whip, because one pomegranate does not a whip make, right? But I felt like I wanted to start it while we were there, so I did. So, just put all this back in here, and then we're good to go. All right, so that was September. And then, you know, I talked a little bit in my last video about Dark October and kind of what I thought my plans were going to be, and that kind of just went all out the window. Because I just decided, you know, I want to work on several things and not just one thing. So what I have been doing is basically what I typically do. Switching every day. Like, you know, Dark October is kind of like my mania. I don't want to switch every day. That's too much. Even switching every other day gets to be a little too much as well. So I'm basically working on something for 3 days and then switching. And that has worked fine so far. So, but what I did do is when I laid it out, I tried to focus on the pieces that I thought were closest to a finish. And there were several pieces that I have typically worked on in October that I did not get out at all because they're so far from being finished. I'm just not even going to mess with them. So I kind of laid out like the first sort of half of the month what I wanted to work on, and then I left some free space because I thought, you know, if I'm getting close enough to something that I think I might be able to finish it, I want to have the freedom, you know, to have more time with it later in the month if I want. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And also, in case you haven't figured it out, Magical Stitches is totally by the wayside. Sampler September, I just wanted to work on Crown Bird. And at the beginning of September, I was trying to fit it in, and, you know, that worked for a little bit. But then it just went out the window because I just had too much going on, and I really didn't want to count stitches. I really didn't want to have to go and like read the homework and deal with updating, and I just couldn't do it. So I may go back to it. I may not. So we'll see. So this is in my Lady Jeanette bag that I made. Juliana Horner fabric, and this panel, linen panel that was from Paris. So this piece, so this is my Halloween neighborhood. and it is obviously still a work in progress. So when I picked this up, I don't think I had worked on this since way earlier in the year, and I had worked on it a little bit for some Magical Stitches homework. And I was working on this house. And I managed to get that house finished up. So I worked on it 3 nights, got that finished up. And I love the way that it looks. So for those of you that may be new, this piece was originally a round robin. It was part of, there were a ton of bloggers at the time that were doing these neighborhood round robins where you were basically sending it around and people were stitching houses on your piece to basically create a neighborhood, right? There's a ton of examples on Pinterest. You can Google it. But I sent mine out. There was a stitcher that kept mine and one other person's. I restarted mine, and that one so I did restart it. It went around, you know, but by the time it came back, I was kind of disgusted with the whole thing. So it sat in a closet for years and years and years. I finally got it back out a couple years ago and decided that I wanted to turn it into something that I really loved. So I picked out a ton of other houses that I wanted on it. I didn't lay mine out like on a grid because I wanted to have roads that go through mine. So I wanted it to be kind of organic looking. And so when I picked this back up, I've been adding to it. And so it's multiple designers, multiple pieces, you know, in a lot of cases it's part of a chart. So this house that I just finished is Lizzie Kate, and it's from their Very Scary Mystery sampler, I think. But if I recall correctly, I changed the color of the house because I think the house on that one is purple, and I needed it to not be purple since I already have a purple house there. So here's the whole piece and how it looks right now. So you can see I have my cemetery down there in the bottom. I have this big beautiful tree up here. I recently stitched this witch. And so I just added in this house right here, which I just showed you. So it's getting more full, but obviously I still have some gaps here. I don't have my road in there yet. So I am in the process of charting it out, and like, because it's gotten to the point where I can't just pick something and hope that it's going to fit in the space that I need it to fit in. So I am actually charting the whole thing out. But these are pieces of all different designers' charts, so I cannot share this with anyone. Sorry. I can tell you which ones I used, but that's it. So I did the Lizzie Kate house, finished that up, and I am actually going to be picking this up again in the next week or so, I think. And so the next house that I have planned, I don't think I have a picture of, but it's a Chessie and Me, and it's called Halloween House. And it is actually going to go over here next to this Prairie Schooler house. So it's gonna go kind of right in here. So that'll be the next house that I put on there. Look at those witches. I love them. And what started it when I picked it back up is I stitched this primitive needle freebie called By the Light of the Moon. And that made me fall in love with the piece all over again. So I worked on that for 3 nights. I was able to get that. Oh, I better fold it in on the inside. I was able to get that house finished up, and then, like I said, I'm going to be revisiting this later in the month. So I worked on that for 3 nights, and then I worked on, so then it was the first weekend in October, which was also 24 hours of cross stitch marathon, take 5. And so I wanted to specifically pick a piece that I could work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 24 hours, because I thought that'll be fun to kind of see. And luckily the dates worked out, right? So the 1st through the 3rd, and then the 4th through the 6th. I wanted to see how far I could get on something, kind of focusing on it. And even though I wasn't going to stay up 24 hours straight, I probably got about 15-ish hours in on it over that weekend. So this is Hallow Eden, which is by Plum Street Samplers. It is a much older chart, and I am stitching this on fabric that I dyed myself when I was experimenting with dyeing fabric for my Dutch Beauty. So here is my piece, and that is showing up super purple, but it is not purple whatsoever. It is a dark gray. Not purple, but boy, that looks purple. Okay, we'll just pretend it's not. So, ignore my thread here. So when I picked this up, I had, so it's an Adam and Eve, and kind of like Garden of Erie, you know, this is sort of a Halloween take on Adam and Eve. So I had Eve stitched, I had I think all of that alphabet stitched, the snake, these 2 little things, and I had started on the tree trunk. So I got the tree trunk filled in, I got Adam stitched, acorn, this W, this is this side of the piece, so that's as wide as it is. And then I started on the leaves on the tree, and I started filling in this moon up here. So part of what I love about this piece, and let me insert a photo of what it will look like here. Part of what I love about this piece is that the alphabet kind of goes behind the tree, and so you see all these partial letters, which I think is really fun. So they just sort of serve as a backdrop, but I think it's pretty darn cute. And it's got pumpkins up at the top, like the one that Eve is holding. So I worked on that for 3 nights, and I feel like I got some good progress. And this is a piece that I thought was close-ish to a finish, although after working on it for 3 nights, it's not as close as I thought it was. But this may come back out. We shall see. because the bulk of what's left is that big tree. And then of course there's some letters up here and on the side, but we'll see. It would be nice to have a finish. So I worked on that for 24 hours of cross stitch. And then I pulled out Casting a Spell, Blackbird Designs. So this piece is, I'll just put a picture of it here. So you can see it's finished in that box that you get from Hobby Lobby. And so I started this, but then I decided to change all the colors. And I'm doing it on a gray fabric that I believe is called Oyster. It's by Silkweaver. I believe it's a 32 count. The called for is a 30 count weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So my pieces will be slightly smaller, but I think it'll still work in the boxes just fine. So I've changed it to 4 colors. Basically a black, a charcoal gray, a cranberry color, and old purple paint. And you've heard me talk ad nauseum about old purple paint. But here is my piece. So when I picked it up, I had this motif kind of 2/3 of the way done. I finished it, and it's in that charcoal and cranberry color scheme. This guy was already done, and then I started this motif. So I've got the word Halloween done, and then there's a checkerboard border that goes around it. One of the nights that I stitched on this, I got half the H done. That's it. So I did not get as much done on this as I would have liked. This was another piece that I thought was close-ish to a finish, but then when I picked it up, not as close as I would have thought. So I am stitching this 2/2, 32 count. I think it'll be really pretty when it's done. I love the color scheme. So Blackbird Designs, Casting a Spell. And it is living in my Raven bag. And I just have like my working copies in here, which is why I don't have pictures I can show you. So, all right, Casting a Spell. And then the next thing I picked up is also in my Alice bag from Christine Stitch All the Things. And I picked up Moon Phases by The Little Stitcher. And this is my piece that I started back during the solar eclipse a couple years ago. Carissa and I started it together. And I am stitching it on, I think it's a 32 count Midnight Tryst by Fabrics by Stephanie. It is a beautiful, gorgeous deep blue and not purple. So let's see if I can, that's just blowing it out. So I had the lady in the center finished, and I basically worked on this lady. And I decided to change her skin color. This is going to be hard to see because of that fabric and because the light's blowing it out so much. And the closer I get, the more it kind of blows out. So I decided to change her skin color. So this lady just has, you know, the normal, whatever that kind of pinky flesh colored, you know, white girl skin tone. This one, so I went to, Michelle Bendy has talked a lot about changing skin colors. This is my first piece that I actually felt like I wanted to change skin colors on, because honestly it's not something I ever really thought about before, which is a little sad, but that's the truth. So thanks to Michelle talking about her Rose Weasley piece that she did and changing the skin color there, I went to, is it Lord Libidon? He has like a whole list of, you know, different skin colors to use. And so I picked out, so 3774 is the color of the lady in the middle. You know, that normal kind of pinky white girl color. And then I picked these two DMCs off of his skin color chart. And so the lady I'm working on right now is 841, which is kind of a cocoa color. And then the lady on the right hand side is going to be this darker color, which is 3862. So I'm really happy with how she's looking, this lady on the left, and I'm really pleased with changing her skin tone. And I also am changing up the hair color of the two on the outside. They were both supposed to have gray hair, and at first I was like, I don't want them to have gray hair. But then I thought about it more, and with changing their skin tone, I decided that the gray would actually work really well. So I picked two different grays to use, these two. So I used the darker on the lady that has the lighter skin tone, the cocoa colored skin tone, and then I'm going to use this more silvery for the lady that has the darker skin tone. And hopefully that looks good. But I'm really kind of excited about that. So that is making me happy. And I enjoyed working on this. And this was another piece that I thought was close-ish to a finish, but not close enough. So, but I enjoyed working on it, so that's the important part, right? And Ramses has come to see what we're doing. Okay, so moon phases. And then I worked on that until the 12th, and then last night, which was the 13th, so not only is it dark October, but it was dark 13 stitching, and then it was also a full harvest moon. So I thought that I needed to choose wisely for my piece, and I had several, of course, that I could choose from. This is in my Luna Moth bag that a sweet friend made for me because it reminded her of my chart that I designed. So I decided to pick up Jinx and work on it. So this is a Raise the Roof piece called Jinx. And it's just a sweet little nothing of a piece, it looks. But it has the number 13 on it, it has a full moon on it, so I thought, you know what, that needs to be my dark 13 stitching. And I have this piece of fabric from Under the Sea that Christine, Stitch All the Things, gifted me with, that I thought was perfect because it sort of echoed that pink Crystal Jaslyn that they had the original on, and I've always kind of liked it on that pink for some reason. So here is my piece. This is on Love Child by Under the Sea Fabrics. And so last night I worked on the ladder. I got the 13 done, which was the important part, right? And then I worked on filling in the moon some more. So that was fun. So I'll work on this tonight and then tomorrow night, and see how far I can get on this. So yet another one that I think is relatively close to being finished, but still has some work in it. So there's that. And then let's talk about what I'm going to work on the rest of the month. So, oh no. Okay, so the couple other things that I know I'm going to work on in Dark October are Black Cat Hollow. So this is my next piece I'm going to work on after I finish with Jinx. I started this last year on October 13th, and this is a stitch along with Emily and Tracy P and I think Trisha. And I'm stitching it on 32 count Murky. That of course is darker than that. But it looks really pretty on this fabric. This is a Barbara Anna design. I will insert a photo here. So obviously I'm working on part 1, and just really thrilled with how that's looking on the fabric. So even though this one is not anywhere close to a finish, I still really wanted to get it out and work on it this month. Emily is working on hers right now, so I'm glad I decided to get that out to work on. So that will get 3 days worth of attention at least. And then, like I said, I built some free spaces in so that I can kind of stitch on whatever I think I might be able to, you know, get some good progress in on. I do want to spend a little time with Blacked Sky, since it's one of my favorite pieces. I need to figure out what to do with this thread color. So I built in a little time before I get to it, so I can hopefully figure that out. So Blacked Sky, I'm not folding this the correct way. And part of the reason I fold mine with the stitching out, with the right side out, is because my needle is usually on the wrong side, and that helps to contain it. But let me try doing it a different way and see if that will. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go watch Brenda and the Serial Starter. Brenda Sampler Stitcher and Modern Mozart Laura have a new-ish floss tube channel. They just released episode 4. They're fantastic. They make me want to stitch all of my samplers. And I will probably on Halloween stitch on my Dracula book cover because it's Halloween and our tradition is to watch Dracula on Halloween. So I will probably work on my Dracula book cover then, but I did not pull it out to show you. So, and then I probably will not record again until we're a little ways into November. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I'm thinking for November. I want to go back to Crown Bird and I want to try to knock the second half of that out and get a finish on that. I would really like to do that. The other piece that I would really like to work on is Sampler Sisters, and that is in this bag. And it has skeletons on the inside. So Sampler Sisters is another primitive needle piece. And I started this last November. Well, I didn't start it last November, but I picked it up last November with Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, and Emily, Eclectic Possessions, and Wide-Eyed Stitching Child. I tend to mix up those words, so that may not be correct, but you know who I'm talking about. I had started this previously, but then I picked it back up when they started theirs on November 11th last year and worked on it. And I've worked on it, you know, kind of here and there. So this is another piece that I would really like to get done this year, and I think it's doable. So here's where I'm at. And I'm stitching this on the called for 40 count Picture This Plus Mellow with the called for threads. And all the fun stuff's up at the top. So I think I still need to do the personalization that's got my name here that I had to kind of rechart because my name won't fit because I have the longest name in the whole world. So I do need to put that in, but then the rest of it is all motifs up at the top. So I'm hoping that'll go super quickish. And the other reason that this has been on my mind is so at the bottom here are initials of my sisters in thread. And so it got a new edition in September. Paulette was kind enough to stitch her initial on my piece. So, super happy. And eventually those will all get filled in by the ladies that are part of that original group. So, and I stitched Lisa's L there for her. All right, so that's my plan for November is I kind of want to go back to Sampler November and I want to finish my Crown Bird. I want to focus on Sampler Sisters, and I'd like to kind of get those two things done. Obviously, Sampler Sisters won't be done until all the initials are on the bottom, but if I can get the rest of the stitching done, then I can determine how to move forward with those. So those are my November plans, and hopefully I am past all of my challenges and obstacles and crazy stuff going awry. And hopefully I can stay up late enough to actually get some stitching done. It's funny how I'm sitting here and I'm seeing the sides of those two kimonos, and so I keep thinking that my hair is doing something funny, but really it's just the two sides of these kimonos that my head just perfectly fits between. So I look a little like one of the tutors or something. Anyway, so that's what I got going on. I am also, you know, I'm still continuing to take a hard look at my whips, and with re-evaluating them. I've got 3 more that are on my radar that I'm thinking may be restarted, because I'm not super happy with them as they are, but I haven't had the energy to pull them out and actually look at them and make an actual decision, but I've got them kind of earmarked in my head that they may get restarted. And they are Village of Hawk Run Hollow, Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, and I have the an Adam and Eve that was from Carriage House Samplings that's on a black fabric that I decided to stitch over one for some ungodly reason. Now, granted, when I get them out I may change my mind, but they're kind of in the back of my head of, may need to rethink these. So anyway, so you may see more things that go on the going pile. So I guess that's it. Oh, the other thing. So I have been, now that it's cooler, well, sort of, it was 90 degrees on Friday, and then it was 50 degrees on Saturday, and it's supposed to be 90 degrees tomorrow. So we're in like false fall, third summer here in Texas. But with the thought that it may get cooler here at some time and be cooler for consecutive days in a row, I do want to get out to the garage and work some more on my haunted dollhouse. I have also pulled some video clips of like the original, how that project kind of got started, and updates and working on it and that sort of thing, that were part of my Mania vlogs at one point. So I wanted to pull all of those into their own video. So that is also on my near radar to get done. But I do want to get back to doing that. So we'll see. All right, well, if you stuck with me this long, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments, likes, and subscribes, and I appreciate that if you don't like what you see, that you keep it to yourself. So, all right, guys, me and my hairstyle are gonna go stitch on Jinx for a little bit, and I hope you guys are enjoying Dark October stitching, and that you will join us. Go take a look at the hashtag on Instagram. It's a lot of fun. Lots of people stitching lots of fun things. And I will be back probably at the beginning of November with an update, and I'll let you know how things are going. So thanks, guys.